The notification popped up on my phone at 5:03 p.m., right when I was packing up my desk. Damon's voice message icon glowed on my screen. I almost ignored it. He rarely sent voice notes, and when he did, they were usually pointless reminders about filing reports. But something made me press play. "Tony, dude, you should see Emma scrambling around here like a headless chicken." Damon's voice crackled through my earbuds. My stomach dropped. He was talking to his college buddy Tony, not me. "She actually thinks she's getting the Verity account permanently. I'm moving it to Melissa next week. Your girlfriend deserves the commission more than Little Miss Pushover." I sat frozen in my chair. Damon kept talking, his voice getting nastier. "Emma's so clueless, she'll probably thank me for the opportunity to train her replacement. I'll make it look like she can't handle the pressure, then boom, no promotion for Miss Perfect." My hands trembled as I replayed the message. 3 years at this marketing firm. 3 years of Damon taking credit for my ideas while treating me like his personal assistant. I saved the message and took a screenshot of the notification. For the first time in months, I smiled. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, creating a folder labeled Documentation. The voice message went in first, backed up to 3 different cloud services. I wasn't going to let Damon delete his way out of this one. By morning, I had a plan. No screaming, no dramatic confrontations, just cold, hard evidence. Damon thought I was a pushover, and maybe I had been. But pushovers don't survive 3 years in cutthroat marketing without learning a few things about documentation and client relationships. I made coffee and reviewed what I knew. Verity Industries had been my client for 8 months. I'd built their entire social media strategy from scratch, boosted their engagement by 300%, and personally saved 2 campaigns from disaster. Damon barely knew what Verity Industries did, let alone how to manage their account. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "You're up early. Everything okay?" I typed back, "Everything's about to be." She responded with a thumbs up and call if you need backup. Having someone in my corner felt like armor. I showered, picked my best professional outfit, and headed to work with my phone fully charged and ready to record everything. Damon strolled into the office at 9:30, his usual Starbucks cup in hand and that smug grin plastered across his face. He stopped at my desk and leaned against it like he owned me along with the furniture. "Morning, Emma. Hope you're ready for some changes around here," he said, loud enough for the whole floor to hear. "We're going to be shaking things up with client assignments." I looked up from my computer and smiled sweetly. "Oh, what kind of changes?" My voice recorder app was already running in my pocket. "Well, I think it's time we spread the Verity account around. Give some other people a chance to shine, you know?" He winked at Tony, who had just walked over to join the conversation. Tony looked uncomfortable, which gave me hope that maybe not everyone was completely heartless. "That's interesting," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Could you send me an email about that? I want to make sure I understand the timeline correctly." Damon's smile flickered for just a second. Sure, I'll get that to you today." He walked away, probably thinking he'd just delivered the news like a professional, instead of the backstabbing weasel I now knew him to be. The email arrived at 2:47 p.m., and it was even better than I'd hoped. Damon had put everything in writing. Effective Monday, Melissa would be taking over the Verity account to provide fresh perspective and new energy. He'd copied Tony on the email, probably to show off. I forwarded the email to my personal account and printed 2 copies. One went into my desk drawer, the other into my purse. I was building a case, and Damon was handing me evidence on a silver platter. At 3:15, I sent a quick message to my main contact at Verity Industries. "Hi, Tom. Just wanted to confirm I'm still your primary point of contact through the end of this month. Want to make sure our quarterly review meeting is still on track." Professional, innocent, necessary. Tom replied within 10 minutes, "Of course, looking forward to our meeting Friday. You've been incredible to work with." I screenshotted his response immediately. By 4 p.m., I had started a timeline document. Voice message on Wednesday, email confirmation on Thursday, client confirmation on Thursday. Damon was methodically destroying his own credibility, and I was methodically documenting every step. Scarlett from HR walked by my desk and noticed my printer working overtime. "Spring cleaning?" she asked with a knowing look. I just smiled and said, "Something like that." Friday morning, I arrived early and went straight to Scarlett's office. She was the kind of HR person who actually cared about employees, not just protecting the company. We'd built a good relationship over coffee chats about work-life balance and her daughter's soccer games. "I need some advice," I said, closing her door behind me. "Hypothetically, if someone had evidence of unfair treatment, what would be the best way to handle it?" Scarlett set down her mug and gave me her full attention. "Hypothetically, that person should document everything, have witnesses if possible, and follow the official complaint process." "But Emma, if this isn't hypothetical, you know you can trust me, right?" I pulled out my phone and played Damon's voice message. Scarlett's eyes went wide, then narrow. "Oh, that idiot," she muttered. "Emma, this is serious. This could be grounds for termination. His, not yours." "I have more," I said, showing her the email and Tom's response. Scarlett nodded approvingly. "You've done this right. Professional, documented, no emotion. Keep collecting evidence for another week, then we'll file an official complaint. And Emma? Don't let Damon know you're on to him. Let him keep digging his own grave." I left her office feeling lighter than I had in months. Damon called a team meeting Monday morning to announce the Verity account transition. The conference room smelled like stale coffee and Melissa's aggressive perfume. She sat next to Damon, practically glowing with fake enthusiasm. "As you all know, we believe in developing our team members." Damon began, not making eye contact with me. "Melissa will be taking over Verity Industries to showcase her account management skills." I raised my hand. "Will there be a transition period? I have the quarterly review meeting with Tom Verity on Friday." Damon waved dismissively. "Melissa can handle that. You'll bring her up to speed this week." "I'd be happy to," I said sweetly. "Should I include her on all my client emails going forward?" I was creating witnesses and forcing him to be specific about the timeline. Tony shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He knew this was wrong, but he was too chicken to speak up. Melissa just nodded eagerly, clearly having no idea what she was walking into. After the meeting, I went back to my desk and immediately sent Tom at Verity a professional heads-up. "Hi, Tom. My manager mentioned there might be some team changes. I'll keep you posted, but our Friday meeting is still confirmed." Tom's reply was swift. "Changes? I hope you're not going anywhere. You're the best account manager we've had." Screenshot. Print. File. Tuesday brought an interesting development. Melissa stopped by my desk with a legal pad, ready to learn about the Verity account. I decided to be extremely helpful. "Let me walk you through everything," I said, pulling up Tom's file. Verity Industries manufactures industrial equipment. Tom Verity is the marketing director, been with the company 12 years. His biggest pain point is reaching younger demographics without alienating their traditional customer base. Melissa scribbled notes furiously. "What's their monthly budget? $15,000 for social media, another $10,000 for content creation. But here's the thing. Tom is very particular about approval processes. Everything has to go through him first, and he prefers phone calls to emails for big decisions." I spent 2 hours giving Melissa genuinely useful information. I even shared my strategy documents and campaign performance reports. If Damon wanted to claim I was being difficult or uncooperative, he'd have to find another excuse. Scarlett walked by during our session and gave me an approving nod. I was being the perfect employee, helpful and professional. Meanwhile, I was also secretly recording our conversation and documenting exactly what I'd shared. By the end of the week, I'd have proof that I'd done everything possible to ensure a smooth transition. Wednesday brought drama I hadn't expected. Melissa marched into Damon's office with tears in her eyes, leaving the door open. Their raised voices carried across the entire floor. "Tom Verity wants to reschedule the meeting," Melissa said. "He specifically asked if Emma could still be there. I think he doesn't trust me." Damon's response was predictably awful. "He'll get over it. You just need to be more confident. Maybe wear something more professional." I looked down at my outfit, a tailored blazer and professional blouse, then at Melissa's low-cut dress and stiletto heels. Damon's comment was inappropriate on multiple levels, and I wasn't the only one who noticed. 3 coworkers had stopped working to listen. Tony appeared at Damon's door. Maybe we should reconsider the timeline, he said quietly. Even Damon's best friend could see this was becoming a disaster. Absolutely not, Damon snapped. Melissa needs this opportunity, and Emma needs to learn she can't control everything. I opened my laptop and started typing notes while the argument was still fresh. Date, time, witnesses present, exact quotes. Damon was having a public meltdown, and I was documenting every word. Scarlett appeared at my desk with a stack of papers. Performance review files, she said loudly. Then she whispered, keep records of everything. Thursday morning, Tom Verity called me directly. Emma, I'm confused about this account transition. Melissa seems nice, but she doesn't understand our industry. Can we talk? I put him on speaker and gestured for Scarlett, who had conveniently stopped by my desk. Of course, Tom. What can I clarify? Well, she suggested we target teenagers for industrial equipment sales. And she wants to put dancing videos on our LinkedIn page. Tom sounded baffled. Is this really the direction your company wants to go? I exchanged glances with Scarlett. Tom, let me check with management about the transition timeline. Your account is too important for us to handle carelessly. After I hung up, Scarlett shook her head. This is painful to watch. Damon's setting up his girlfriend to fail, and she's going to take the client down with her. Should I intervene? I asked, genuinely conflicted. Document the client's concerns, Scarlett advised. Send Damon an email summarizing Tom's feedback. Keep it professional and solution-focused. I drafted the email carefully. Damon, Tom Verity called with questions about our strategy direction. He'd like to discuss expectations before tomorrow's meeting. Should I brief Melissa on his specific concerns, or would you prefer to handle this directly? Damon's response was pure gold. Emma, stop undermining Melissa. She doesn't need your input. Screenshot. Print. File. Friday arrived with the energy of a brewing storm. Tom's quarterly review meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m., and Melissa was nowhere near ready. She'd spent the morning practicing her presentation, but every slide was wrong for Verity's needs. At 1:30, Damon pulled me aside. I need you to sit in on this meeting, just in case Melissa needs backup. I thought you said she didn't need my input, I replied innocently. Damon's face reddened. Just be there, Emma. Don't make this difficult. The meeting was a catastrophe. Melissa pitched Verity Industries on influencer partnerships for industrial equipment. Tom's face grew more confused with each slide. When she suggested a TikTok dance challenge for hydraulic pumps, Tom actually laughed, not in a good way. I'm sorry, Tom said, interrupting her mid-sentence. Emma, can you help me understand how this aligns with our goals? Before I could answer, Damon jumped in. Melissa is leading this account now. She's got fresh ideas. Tom looked directly at me. Emma, what's your professional opinion? I glanced at Damon, then back at Tom. I think we need to revisit your core objectives and make sure our strategy supports your business goals. Exactly, Tom said. That's why I want to keep working with Emma. The room went silent. After Tom left, Damon exploded. You completely undermined Melissa in there, he shouted, not caring who heard. I answered a direct client question, I said calmly. Several coworkers had gathered to watch the drama unfold. You made her look incompetent. Tony finally spoke up. Damon, maybe we should. Stay out of this, Tony, Damon snapped. His face was red and his hands were shaking. Emma, you're obviously not a team player. Maybe it's time to reconsider your position here. Scarlett appeared like she'd been waiting for her cue. Damon, I think we should take this conversation somewhere private. No, I want everyone to hear this. Emma thinks she's irreplaceable, but nobody is irreplaceable. I stayed perfectly calm. I understand you're frustrated. Should I document Tom's feedback for future reference, or would you prefer to handle client communication differently going forward? My professional response made Damon look even more unhinged. He was having a public breakdown while I remained composed. Several people were holding up phones, probably recording the whole thing. Just get back to work, Damon muttered, storming toward his office. Scarlett waited until he was gone, then approached my desk. Emma, I think it's time we had that official conversation. Monday morning, I sat in Scarlett's office with my folder of evidence spread across her desk. Voice messages, emails, client communications, witness statements from coworkers who'd heard Damon's outburst, everything organized chronologically. This is thorough, Scarlett said, reviewing each document. Damon's created a hostile work environment, shown favoritism, and potentially damaged client relationships. This is a clear violation of company policy. She picked up Damon's voice message transcript. This alone is grounds for disciplinary action. The rest of this just makes it worse. What happens now? I asked. I'll file an official complaint with senior management. They'll launch an investigation, which means interviewing witnesses and reviewing all communications. Damon will be suspended pending the outcome. My heart raced. Will I have to testify or anything dramatic like that? Scarlett smiled. Emma, you've already done the hard work. You documented everything professionally and kept your emotions in check. The evidence speaks for itself. She locked my folder in her desk drawer. Go about your normal routine this week. Don't discuss this with anyone except me. And Emma? Start thinking about what you want to happen next. Damon's not coming back from this. I walked back to my desk feeling like I was floating. 3 years of being treated like a doormat, and I'd finally found my backbone. Tuesday brought unexpected visitors. 2 people in expensive suits spent the morning in the conference room with Scarlett. Word spread quickly that they were from corporate headquarters. Damon arrived at his usual 9:30, completely oblivious. He stopped at my desk with his coffee and that familiar smug grin. Morning, Emma? Ready for another productive day? He was still acting like nothing had happened. Good morning, Damon. I'm ready for whatever the day brings. At 10:15, Scarlett appeared at Damon's office door. Damon, could you join me in conference room B? There are some people who'd like to speak with you. The color drained from Damon's face when he saw the corporate investigators. He glanced back at me with sudden understanding, then disappeared into the conference room. For the next 3 hours, Damon sat in that glass room while people in suits took notes. I couldn't hear anything, but his body language told the whole story. Defensive posturing, animated gestures, increasingly desperate explanations. Tony paced near his desk, looking like he wanted to run. Melissa sat quietly at her computer, probably wondering why her boyfriend suddenly looked terrified. At 1:30, Damon emerged from the conference room, cleaned out his desk, and walked out of the building, escorted by security. He never made eye contact with anyone. Wednesday morning felt different. The entire office buzzed with nervous energy. Damon's empty office sat like a crime scene, his door closed and blinds drawn. Scarlett called an all-hands meeting at 10 a.m. As you may have noticed, Damon Spencer is no longer with the company. We're conducting a thorough review of client assignments and team structures. Normal operations will continue under interim management. She looked directly at me. Emma will resume full responsibility for the Verity Industries account, effective immediately. Melissa raised her hand. What about my development opportunity? We'll find appropriate assignments that match your skill set, Scarlett replied diplomatically. After the meeting, Tom Verity called. Emma, I heard there were some changes. Please tell me you're back on our account. I'm back, Tom, and I have some ideas for next quarter that I think you'll love. Thank God. Melissa seems nice, but she suggested we sponsor a reality TV show about factory workers. I wasn't sure how to respond to that. I laughed, my first genuine laugh in weeks. Let's stick to strategies that make sense for your industry. The rest of the day flew by. Coworker stopped by to congratulate me, and several admitted they'd been hoping Damon would get fired for months. By Thursday, the whole story had come out through office gossip. Damon had been terminated for creating a hostile work environment, showing favoritism and potentially damaging client relationships. The investigation had found additional evidence I hadn't even known about. Apparently, I wasn't his only victim. Tony requested a meeting with Scarlett, probably to save his own job. Word was that he'd provided testimony about Damon's behavior, including confirmation of the voice message incident. Melissa cleaned out her desk Friday morning. She stopped by before leaving. Emma, I owe you an apology, she said quietly. I knew Damon was being unfair to you, but I thought I could benefit from it. That was wrong. I appreciate you saying that, I replied. Good luck with whatever comes next. She nodded and walked out, her boyfriend's career destroyed and her own reputation damaged by association. Scarlett appeared at my desk with a bottle of champagne. For after work, she said with a wink. The investigation is closed and the results are confidential, but let's just say justice was served. That afternoon, I got an email from senior management requesting a meeting Monday morning to discuss my future with the company. The subject line read, Leadership Opportunity. Monday's meeting exceeded my wildest expectations. The regional manager, Miss Aubrey, sat across from me with a stack of client feedback forms and performance reviews. Emma, the Verity Industries situation brought some things to our attention. We've been reviewing your work, and frankly, we should have promoted you months ago. She slid a job description across the table. Senior account manager with a 40% salary increase and management responsibilities. Damon's departure created an opportunity to restructure the department. We'd like you to lead the team, with Scarlett's support on HR matters. I tried to stay professional, but inside I was doing victory dances. I'm very interested. When would this start? Immediately. You'll have 2 direct reports and oversight of our 5 largest accounts. Think you can handle it? I thought about Damon's voice message, about being called a pushover who doesn't know the game. I've been ready for this challenge for a long time, I said. Miss Aubrey smiled. We can see that now. Sometimes it takes a crisis to reveal who the real leaders are. That afternoon, I moved into Damon's old office. The view was better than I'd expected. My first week as senior manager taught me that several people had been waiting for Damon to leave. Tony apologized formally and asked to stay on the team. I agreed, with the understanding that professional behavior was non-negotiable. Scarlett and I met daily to discuss team dynamics and department improvements. You're handling this transition beautifully, she said. No ego, no revenge, just solid leadership. I learned from watching Damon what not to do, I replied. The Verity Industries account flourished under my direct management again. Tom was so pleased with our renewed focus that he recommended us to 2 other companies in his industry network. By Friday, I had new business worth $50,000 in monthly billings. Miss Aubrey was impressed. Emma, corporate wants to discuss expanding your role, she said. They're talking about a regional position. I smiled, thinking about how far I'd come from that voice message 6 weeks ago. Damon had tried to push me down, but he'd accidentally revealed the game I didn't know I was already winning. I'm interested in growth opportunities, I said, but I want to make sure my team is set up for success first. That's exactly the kind of leadership thinking we want to see. A month later, I received an unexpected message on LinkedIn. Damon had found a new job at a smaller firm and apparently wanted to clear the air. His message read, Emma, I hope there are no hard feelings about how things ended. Business is business, right? Maybe we can grab coffee sometime. I stared at the screen for several minutes, remembering his voice calling me a pushover and his plan to destroy my career. Then I deleted the message without responding. Scarlett laughed when I told her about it. Some people never learn. He's probably trying to network his way back into the industry. That's not my problem anymore, I said. She raised her coffee mug in a mock toast. To pushovers who push back. To collecting evidence instead of getting emotional. I countered. That afternoon, Tom Verity called with news that his company had been acquired by a larger corporation. Emma, the new owners want to expand our marketing budget by 200%. Are you ready for that kind of growth? I looked out the window of my office, at the city skyline that seemed full of possibilities. Tom, I've been ready for a long time. They just didn't know it yet. 6 months later, I was promoted to regional account director, overseeing 3 offices and 40 employees. My success story had become corporate legend, the quiet employee who documented her way to justice and leadership. Scarlett was promoted to regional HR director, partly based on her handling of the Damon situation. We still met for coffee every Friday, comparing notes on management challenges and celebrating victories. The Verity Industries account had become our largest client, worth $200,000 annually. Tom often joked that Damon's attempted sabotage was the best thing that ever happened to our business relationship. You know what I learned from all this? I told Scarlett during one of our Friday meetings. What's that? Sometimes the biggest favor your enemies can do is underestimate you completely. She laughed. Damon thought he was playing chess while you were playing 4D chess with documentation. I pulled out my phone and found Damon's old voice message, which I'd saved as a reminder. Want to hear something funny? I still have this. you kept it. As a reminder that someone's true character always reveals itself eventually. You just have to be patient enough to let them show you who they really are. A year after Damon's termination, I received a call from a journalist writing about workplace harassment and documentation. Someone had recommended me as an example of how to handle unfair treatment professionally. The key, I told her, is to stay calm and collect evidence. Don't get emotional, don't retaliate, just document everything and trust the process. What advice would you give to someone in a similar situation? I thought about Damon's voice message, about sitting in my kitchen that night, deciding to fight back with facts instead of fury. Keep records of everything. Dates, times, witnesses, exact quotes. Take screenshots, save emails, back everything up, and find one person you trust completely. Someone in HR, a mentor, a friend who can help you stay focused on the goal. Which is what exactly? Justice. Not revenge, not drama, not getting even. Just the simple truth that everyone deserves to be treated fairly at work. The article ran 2 months later with the headline, How One Employee's Documentation Strategy Exposed Workplace Bias. It was picked up by several business websites and became required reading in some management training programs. 2 years later, I was speaking at a conference about leadership and workplace culture when someone asked about dealing with difficult managers. I once had a boss who sent me a voice message meant for his friend, I began. He called me a pushover and outlined his plan to sabotage my career to help his girlfriend get ahead. The audience murmured sympathetically. But that voice message was the best thing that ever happened to my career. Because it taught me something crucial. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. And when they're foolish enough to put it in writing or in a voice message, save every word. After my talk, a young woman approached me. I'm dealing with something similar at my job. My supervisor takes credit for my work and makes jokes about my appearance. How do I document that? I gave her my card. Email me. Let's talk about building your evidence file. Driving home that night, I thought about Damon and wondered what he was doing. Then I realized I didn't care. Some people are chapters in your story, not the whole book. 3 years after the voice message incident, I was promoted to Vice President of Client Relations. My first day in the new role, I found a card on my desk from Scarlett. To the woman who turned a voice message into a victory. Proud to call you friend and colleague. That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn connection request that made me do a double take. It was from Damon's replacement at his new company. Apparently, he'd been fired again for similar behavior. His former colleague's message read, I heard you dealt with Damon Spencer a few years ago. Would you be willing to share how you handled it? We're building a case. I smiled and typed back, document everything. Stay professional. Trust the process. Happy to share specific strategies over a call. Some patterns never change. Damon was still Damon, leaving a trail of evidence and enemies wherever he went. But now I was in a position to help his victims fight back effectively. Scarlett knocked on my office door. Ready for your first VP staff meeting? More than ready, I said, grabbing my notebook. I've been preparing for this moment longer than anyone realizes. 5 years later, I was featured in a business magazine's 40 Under 40 list. The article mentioned my rise from account manager to VP, but it focused more on my leadership philosophy and mentoring programs. What's your advice for young professionals facing workplace challenges? The interviewer had asked. Keep records, stay professional, and remember that the truth has a way of surfacing. Don't let anyone convince you to accept unfair treatment, but be strategic about how you fight back. The article included a quote that became popular on professional social media. Sometimes the biggest favor your enemies can do is underestimate you completely. Damon's voice message was now part of my origin story, the moment I discovered my own power. I'd helped dozens of employees document workplace harassment and discrimination cases. Most won their battles, not through drama or confrontation, but through patience, evidence, and professional advocacy. Scarlett, now a senior VP herself, still kept that first article framed in her office. Remember when you were just collecting voice messages and email screenshots? She teased during lunch. Remember when Damon thought he was so clever? I replied. I wonder if he ever figured out that his biggest mistake was underestimating the quiet girl with the good memory. Looking back now, I can see that Damon's voice message was a gift wrapped in humiliation. It forced me to discover strengths I didn't know I had and taught me lessons that shaped my entire career. The company thrived under new leadership that valued merit over favoritism. The Verity Industries account grew into a multi-million-dollar partnership that lasted years. Melissa found success at a company that better matched her skills. Even Tony became a solid team member once Damon's toxic influence was removed. But the most important outcome was personal. I learned that quiet strength is still strength, that documentation beats drama every time, and that sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding so completely that your enemies become irrelevant. Today, when young employees ask me about handling workplace conflicts, I tell them Damon's story, not because I want them to experience betrayal, but because I want them to understand their own power before they need to use it. I've mentored dozens of professionals through similar situations. Most discover, as I did, that they're stronger than they knew, and that patience combined with preparation is unbeatable. Scarlett and I still laugh about Damon's voice message sometimes, especially when we see news about workplace harassment cases where victims fought back with documentation and won. "Do you ever wonder what Damon would think if he knew how his mistake changed your life?" she asked recently. I considered it. I think he'd be amazed that the pushover he tried to destroy became the leader he never could be.